Despite expecting Star Trek Discovery to last 7 seasons, Sonequa Martin Green doesn't have unfinished business with Burnham. When Star Trek Discovery premiered in 2017, it carried the enormous burden of resurrecting Star Trek for modern television. Nearly a decade later, the show didn't just survive, it reshaped the franchise's streaming era identity. At the heart of that transformation stood Sonequa Martin Green, whose portrayal of Captain Michael Burnham became one of the most emotionally layered performances in franchise history. So when Discovery concluded with Season 5 instead of reaching the originally expected 7-season run, many fans assumed Martin Green might feel her journey ended too soon. Surprisingly, she doesn't. Rather than expressing regret or longing, Martin Green has made it clear she has no unfinished business with Burnham, and that perspective says a lot about both the character's evolution and Star Trek's changing storytelling philosophy. The 7-season expectation that never came true. For decades, 7 seasons became the unofficial Star Trek benchmark. Star Trek, The Next Generation, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager all reached that milestone. Naturally, many assumed Discovery would follow the same trajectory. Even Martin Green herself expected it. The structure seemed perfect. A flagship streaming series anchoring Paramount's expanding Trek universe, a constantly evolving timeline, and a protagonist whose arc moved from disgraced mutineer to Starfleet captain. 7 seasons felt inevitable. But television has changed. Streaming economics favored tighter storytelling over longevity, and franchises now prioritize interconnected expansion instead of extended single-show runs. The cancellation wasn't creative exhaustion, it was strategic evolution. And Martin Green understood that distinction. Burnham's story actually reached completion. What makes Martin Green's reaction fascinating is that Burnham's arc may be one of the most complete character journeys in Star Trek history. When audiences first met Michael Burnham, she wasn't a captain or even particularly likable by traditional Trek standards. Raised on Vulcan after the death of her parents, Burnham struggled between logic and emotion. Her infamous mutiny shattered her Starfleet career before the series truly began. That starting point mattered. Burnham's story was never about commanding a ship. It was about learning how to belong. Across 5 seasons, viewers watched her confront trauma and guilt, rebuild trust within Starfleet, rediscover emotional vulnerability, lead through empathy instead of authority, ultimately become the captain she once doubted she could be. By the finale, Burnham wasn't searching for identity anymore. She was identity, a leader shaped by compassion, resilience, and experience. From a storytelling standpoint, extending the series purely to hit 7 seasons might actually have weakened that resolution. Martin Green seems to recognize that closure is rarer and more valuable than longevity. A different kind of Star Trek hero. Unlike captains such as Kirk or Picard, Burnham's narrative centered intensely on personal growth. The show often framed galaxy-spanning threats through emotional stakes rather than purely philosophical dilemmas. This approach divided longtime fans, but also brought new audiences into the franchise. Martin Green carried that tonal shift. Her performance allowed Discovery to explore grief, love, vulnerability, and mental healing in ways earlier Star Trek series rarely attempted so directly. And crucially, Burnham ended her journey at peace. There was no tragic sacrifice. No unresolved command crisis. No lingering moral failure. Instead, she achieved balance, professionally and personally. That sense of completion explains why Martin Green doesn't feel the need to revisit unfinished narrative threads. Burnham's story wasn't interrupted. It concluded. Why no unfinished business is actually healthy. Actors often struggle to let go of defining roles. Science fiction franchises especially encourage perpetual returns, cameos, revivals, spin-offs, alternate timelines. But Martin Green's outlook reflects confidence rather than detachment. She has spoken about feeling gratitude instead of loss, suggesting that Burnham gave everything she needed to give. That,